Hello friends, welcome to our subject series Sensors, Transducers and Signal Conditioners. Today we shall discuss about the significant parameters that need to be considered in the selection of transducers. So let's get into the subject and try to understand what are all those parameters that we need to be considering while selecting a typical transducer for any application. Then if you see, the first attribute is the transducer should recognize and sense the desired input signal and should be insensitive to other signals present simultaneously in the measurand. The understanding of this sentence itself will give a true attribute to the transducer or a sensor. Then the transducer have minimum sensitivity towards unwanted signals, minimum sensitivity, and maximum sensitivity towards the desired signals. If you are measuring voltage, it should be sensitive to voltage alone, not for the current. If you are measuring temperature, this transducer under consideration should be sensitive to temperature alone, and it should not get affected with the pressure, flow, and other parameters. That is exactly what we mean by that. It should recognize and sense the desired input signal and should be insensitive to other signals. Similarly, it should have a minimum sensitivity towards unwanted signals and maximum sensitivity towards the desired signals. That's what we mean by. So it should not alter the event to be measured. Let's say if the mass of the transducer or the sensor itself is high, if you are measuring a mass temperature of a small sample, now this mass of the transducer will have an effect on total heat capacity of the sample that we are measuring. Okay, so in that case, we consider that this transducer is altering the event to be measured. So actually that should not be the case. So that is the reason why your transducer should be as small as possible. Then it should be amenable to modifications using appropriate processing and display devices. The output that you are getting from the transducers should be amenable to modifications so that that signal can be processed, conditioned, and then which are suitable for the display devices. And ultimately, it should have a good accuracy. Accuracy, it's how close the measured value is to the true value. The closeness of the measured value to the true value. True value is in the calibrated standard value. So whatever the deviation that we get between true value minus measured value, we call it as an error. Okay, so that error has to be accounted for. So these are all the typical selection of transducers on the parameters that we need to consider. There are some more. Let's get into all of them one by one. Then the range of operation. So the range requirement is the minimum to maximum. What is the minimum? If the temperature is, if the clinical thermometer is say from 90 degrees Fahrenheit to 110 degrees Fahrenheit, that's the range of the operation. So this range requirement is maintained by the transducer, and over the entire range, it should possess good resolution. So for the entire range of the transducer, it should have a good resolution, which is nothing but the smallest change in input increment, which can be detected in certainty by the output. That's exactly what we normally call it as it's normally called as a least count. Okay, so that's how the range of operation depends. Then we have the sensitivity and cross sensitivity. Now, to generate a detectable output, transducer should possess enough sensitivity. In case of measuring mechanical quantities, cross sensitivity need to be taken into account. This is nothing but, when a quantity to be measured in one plane and the transducer is in the another plane, it is always subjected to variations. So to avoid it, the sensitivity and cross sensitivity play a very important role. Then we have the loading effects. High input impedance and low output impedance. Normally for any transducer or for any device where you have to measure a signal, the input impedance always has to be as high as possible, and the output impedance always should be as low as possible. So for an ideal case, we normally call it infinite input impedance and zero output impedance in order to avoid the loading effect on the transducers. Then we have the linearity, which we have seen already. So linearity, we normally, although it is non-linearity, we represent it in terms of linearity. So this is a non-linear curve and this is a linear curve. And if this is a standard calibration curve, and if this is the measured curve that we are getting, the vertical distance from this, we normally calculate it as the deviation from the linearity. So this divided by the 100%, we normally get the percentage of non-linearity. But ironically, it is mentioned as percentage linearity is plus or minus 2%. That means the non-linearity is plus or minus 2%. It is linear to the extent of 90%. That's exactly what we understand. So the transducer is meant to measure a physical quantity and output the electrical signal relative to the measured quantity. So this output input conversion actually has to be linear in nature, and it should be symmetrical as possible. So this is for increasing the values, and then this is for decreasing the values, so that your values have the symmetry over the standard calibration curve. So the transducer output should be as linear as possible for a given range of measurement. Then repeatability and reproducibility, these are the two factors which we need to understand. We'll see here, this particular part, you have a repeatability, these two values, and then we have a reproducibility here. Okay, so this is a reference value. Now let's understand this. So ability to reproduce the same output signal for the same input quantity measured repeatedly under the same environmental conditions. We normally call it as a reproducibility. Okay, ability to reproduce the same output signal for the same input quantity measured repeatedly under the same environmental conditions. Now, repeatability measures the variation in measurements taken by a single instrument or person under the same conditions. So if the conditions are changing, we normally get the reproducibility. So reproducibility measures whether an entire study or experiment can be reproduced in its entirety for the total range of the values. If we are able to reproducible, and then that's called as the reproducibility. Then the dynamic response is the speed at which the output is responding to input. Let's see this example. This is the step input, what we are getting here. So this is 0, and directly we are giving, subjecting to 100 volts or 100 degrees centigrade that we are giving. Then we are keeping it constant for some time. This is the time, and then again we are reducing it. So one step we are giving, again making it to bring it into 0. Now the dotted line is the input line, and you will see the solid line is the output line. So how it is going. So there is always a lag. So here you have a delay time for it to start, then you have a rise time, then you have a storage time, then you have a fall time. This entire thing is the fall time. So this is what we normally call it as a dynamic response. So with respect to time, how the output of the signal is responding to the given input. And that's exactly what with the transducer, when it exhibits good dynamic response with output changing with input as a function of time. So there should not be any time delays. So essentially it means that it should have a flat response throughout the whole bandwidth of the measured. So instead of entire thing, so it should go immediately here and then it should come here. So it should have as flat response as possible. Flat response in terms of sensitivity. So sensitivity is again a slope of the curve, which is the change in output by change in input. So that's exactly what we understand by. So the dynamic response has to be means the speed with which it responds. Then the instrument should be rugged enough, to withstand the overloading and with safety stops for protecting from overloads. So ruggedness means it should withstand the hostile environments. Then we have the stability. Here we are seeing here for over a period of time, we have a percentage of output to input signal. Output to input signal. This is a percentage here, and this is the ratio is always is almost linear. Okay, so the stability is normally called, it is the ability to give the same output when used to measure a constant input over a period of time. If you are measuring constant input over a period of time, it has to give the same output also. So the instrument's transducer's ability to give the same output when used to measure a constant input over a period of time. That's what we normally call it as the stability. Here it's not that stable. So here it's going on. So input, output by input percentage, if you take, This is the deviation in the stability. Then the reliability is measurements show minimum error and the output is unaffected by environmental variations, temperature, etc. So the reliability is governed by probability of the data, durability, dependability, quality over time, and availability of the data. This is exactly what it is. Then you also have compatibility. So the transducer working under specific environmental situations are assured of reliable input-output relationship and must be breakdown free. This is what we understand by compatibility, how the output is compatible with the input. So the transducer should have this parameter, and we should take care that while selecting a particular transducer. Then the speed of response is, you have the rise time here. So for a typical temperature that we are introducing thermometer, if we are introducing in a industry environment, you have blue one, you have without thermowell. Then the gray line, we have thin walled thermowell. Then this one is on the thick walled thermowell. You will see the speed of response is faster here in the first case because without thermowell. Now, if you have a thermowell, that absorbs some time, and the that it always takes some time to heat the thermowell and then come to the thermometer. That's the thing. So it is the rapidity with which the transducer responds to changes in the measured quantity. And that's exactly what we call as speed of response. So the speed of response of the transducer should be as high as practicable. Now, this is the ultimate thing. Now, if the 100% thing, it is reaching the 100% steady state value in a shortest given just 20 seconds. But whereas this one with a thin thermowell is reaching after 70 seconds. And then if thick walled thermowell is reaching almost after 200 seconds. So that's the speed of response. So the speed of response should be very high for a given transducer. And this should be taken care while we are selecting the thing. So the size also, this transducer should have smallest possible size and shape, which we have already discussed, because with minimum weight and volume, in order that this will not affect the measurement, the parameter under measurement. So this will make the measurement system very compact, and it should be easily available and reasonably priced. That is also another important parameter that we need to consider while selecting a particular transducer. Then there is other criteria for selection of a transducer, which we normally call it as a mechanical stability in terms of size, shape, weight, mounting agreement, arrangement with the thing, and then rigidity, etc. So all these parameters also should be considered while selecting a particular transducer, whether it has a mechanical suitability and it has an electrical suitability. Electrical suitability is its frequency response, its signal transmission capacity, and the electrical sensitivity. Then it should also have environmental suitability, supply frequency and voltage, magnetic fields, vibration, humidity, dust in all these environments, okay, in industry. So you need to consider the environmental suitability also while selecting a particular transducer. Then of course, this is common. Static and dynamic characteristics, it should be good. Then accuracy, error, operating range, loading effect, power requirement, etc. are to be considered while selecting it. This is another criteria. Although there is no hard and fast rule, an experienced engineer always selects a good transducer considering several parameters, significant parameters. And ultimately, the cost of the transducer also should be reasonably good. And this is another selection criteria, another set of selection criteria for parameters to be considered. Now, these are all, how much space is available for mounting the sensor on the system, what maximum mass loading can be used, what is the vibrational level, what are the frequencies of interest, what is the range of temperature required, is physical clearance a problem, how will the sensor be mounted. So all these need to be considered while selecting a transducer for a given application in industries. Then let's understand a typical design parameters of LVDT. LVDT will understand that it's a linearly variable differential transformer. So it has a primary winding in the center and secondary winding the peripherally. So when the primary coil is excited, the voltage induced into the secondary coil is proportional to the movement of the core. That's exactly the principle of operation. If you are seeing here, this is a primary voltage, then you have a secondary voltage here. The difference that we get in secondary voltage is proportional to the movement of the core in the gap. That's exactly what we. So here we will see the whatever is the range, distance traveled that we considered for the LVDT. Now here if you see, the length of the primary coil, this is the primary coil, the length of it is 80 mm, which can be changed, of course. Then the length of the secondary coil, this and this, 75 mm. The length of the core is 130 mm. Radius of the core is 4.5 mm. Inner radius of the coils, between this inner radius of the coils is 10 mm. Outer radius of the coils is 35 mm. From this to this is inner radius. From this to this is outer radius of the coil. Then the separation of the wires is 0.3 mm center to center, 0.3 mm, which is variable. Then you have some fixed parameters where the excitation frequency 50 Hz is fixed. Then the primary current peak value is 50 milliamps. Then the separation between the coils is 5 mm. And the relative permeability of the core is 14,000. So these are the fixed parameters. So these are all the typical parameters while we are considering the design of a LVDT. Okay, this is just as an add-on parameter that we are doing. So that's all about the selection criteria and the significant parameters to be considered for the selection of a transducer. Hope you have enjoyed it. Thank you very much.